Proactive Living, Scams and Security. My name is Connie Ryan.
I'm Lucy Crandall.
All right.
I feel like there should have been like
A dance.
song man.
We'll get there. The
Yeah.
Bob Hope Show. All right. A little bit about proactive living. The goal of these events is to provide community and local information to our seniors so you guys can ask questions, have conversations, and we can have the experts in the room to help support you in making decisions. And with that, a little bit of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about scams and security from Officer Wilkerson. Thank you so much for being here today. Ada with the BBB and Tammy with Adams Banks and Trust.
Better late than never.
And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for any questions. But we do want these presentations to be more communicative and conversational. So if you have questions, just raise your hand. All right, just a tiny bit about me. I coach family members on how to help your loved ones age in place. I do care management, and then we also host senior events around town for educational and social purposes, low cost to the seniors themselves. That's just a little bit about me.
And I'm Lucy. I published the Seniors Blue Book, like a telephone book for senior resources. We have 7 different books in Colorado, another 20 some across the country. No matter where you're looking for senior resources, you can also go to our website, seniorsbluebook.com, and find a wealth of information on all parts of the country and even more in our local markets where we have books. So check that out. And again, we're all about education and resources. Our belief is the more information, the more you know, the more you know. And really that's what it comes down to. Knowledge is power, and so hopefully we can bring you some of that through our books, our website, and now through our Proactive Living series. So thanks for being here.
Yes. Real quick, I want to say thank you to the Senior Center. They let us use this amazing space. If you would like to donate $1, it literally goes from this room to their counter right up there. So that would be great to support them so we can continue to do this. And then thank you to George, our financial planner. He's providing donuts this morning and some water, so please make sure you get some of that and enjoy those refreshments. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you guys for all attending today. My name is George Pennington. I'm a financial advisor with Raymond James & Associates. So I do family finance and generational wealth and estate planning. So legacy planning. And, I think on the note of what we're talking about today, I'm locally based. So when my clients come to sit down with me, we sit face to face. You're not calling a call center. You're not dealing with anybody you don't know. So I think there's some value in that. I was a little late with the water, but I did get some. So help yourself to water. We got donuts and then that's napkins as well.
Thank you. All right, and then just real quick, our next one will be June 16th, and we're going to be talking about active lifestyle. We have UCCS putting together an amazing presentation for us specific for this, so I'm really excited to see what they're going to have. And then in July, we're doing paying for care with Miss Finn. All right, Mr. Officer Wilkerson, please join us, and we'll get that going.
So while she plugs in my computer and gets everything going, just a quick introduction to who I am. I am obviously Officer Wilkerson with CSPD. I'm the Crime Prevention Officer for the Gold Hill Division. This is a new presentation that we recently put together, so there's going to be some hiccups. Bear with me. It's also very wordy. I'm working on that. There's way too many words in it. But we had to start somewhere. And what we did is we compiled all the complaints that we get from our citizens of the things that we're seeing. Financial crime is killing us. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry every year. And unfortunately, there's really no way to fight it. Crime prevention, this is an oxymoron. You can't prevent it, but you can make it someone else's problem. And that's what we really want to do. So we want to give you the tools and the education to not be the victim, essentially. Make sense? So bear with me. Today, we're going to talk about some of the tactics that scammers use, the well-known scams that are out there, because there are a few that are every year we see it. It comes back around. It's the same thing every time. What probably my absolute favorite, we haven't had it this year, We haven't had a hailstorm yet this year, right?
Oh, we're early.
Oh, yeah. No, April, it's usually April though, is when it really hits. We didn't get any rain in April whatsoever. And that's the one that comes around every hailstorm is I need to inspect your roof, but I need money up front to inspect your roof. That's the one that, wow, it just comes around every single time. We're also gonna tell you some methods on how to protect yourself. I can spend days walking you through the protective measures you can take. I'm gonna give you a few today, and then some of it is gonna be upon yourself to do some research and talk to other people about how maybe they've stopped it. And then that's where the how to learn more and then what to do if you're scammed. What do you do if you get scammed? It's the first thing you should do.
Call you.
Report it. Absolutely.
Call your name.
Okay, I'll stand by it. But I'm gonna tell you something though. Technically, we need the report of it first so that the bank has a reference number of a case report of it hasn't been filed. Because the bank's gonna ask you, have you reported this yet? So, scam. By definition, we actually brainstormed on this. I didn't like Webster's dictionary's definition. So I just like to say it's a dishonest trick to get something from someone. The foundation is building trust with the victim. They want you to trust them so that they can defraud or steal from you. They don't care about you, regardless of how sweet they sound on the phone. They only want that cooperation. They only want you to comply with their demands. It can be in person, phone, email, and even text message. And we're going to talk about really odd text messages here soon. Before we get into this, I hope the sound works. Has anybody been scammed in here? I love this. Okay. So our seniors in the room didn't raise their hand. I'm with you. I have been scammed. I think it is a generational thing that we tend to say that we are very cautious and I'm not going to get scammed, and then we are the ones that get scammed. It's actually a bit funny to me. All right, so let me see. Oh no.
It's
No.
taking a minute to load some of the images.
Well, oh, there they are. That's what I mean. Okay, so bear with me because this is a long video, as in it's 40 minutes long, and the backstory, I'm only going to show you about 2 minutes of it. The backstory is there is a gentleman who loves to prank porch pirates. You might have seen some of his videos. They call him the glitter bomb guy.
Yeah.
And he puts out packages of glitter bombs, and when people steal the Amazon package, they get it back, they open it up, and glitter goes everywhere, and really stinky sprays. It's amazing what he's done. And he's done it every year, around Christmas, every year for about 4 years now. And now, porch pirates are actually getting cautious. They're actually starting to go, I don't know if this is a legitimate package. So it's working. It's a deterrent, right? It's a deterrent. So what he's done is he actually went out and went to India, and he recruited a bunch of people who also do this to scammers, and they infiltrated the call centers in India to prank the scammers themselves. So what he has in here, though, if I can hopefully get it to play. Here, probably. That's on me. Bear with me. Turn the card on first.
The glitter bomb guy also builds obstacle courses for squirrels, and you can watch all those videos online.
He does, yes.
Yeah, he's like an engineer and had some free time over COVID and got interested in the squirrels.
He's
and
brilliant.
inspired.
I mean, it's, I'm not going to say it's talent wasted because he's doing a service to the community. But his glitter bomb pranks are great. All right, I'm going to fast if this will open. Wait, this.
Yeah, there's something about this building, my internet doesn't love it.
Well, I'm on a SIM card right now, so.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward because.
Cockroaches here, and
So he did some really hard. They released rats and cockroaches into this call center, It was just amazing. I like what they did to the call center people. Because you're talking about billions of dollars every year that are being funneled over to India for these call centers. He said that his calculations, because they actually snuck in cameras and they were able to actually watch everything unfold through their CCTV. And he saw the manager's computer screen and saw the numbers, and they were estimated that just the room that he was in, where the call takers were, $18,000 a day. Just that room. And there's like 7 floors of that building. So we're gonna go to about one. Oh, my fat fingers won't.
4 massive call centers. Now, why would we go after this $20 billion scam industry? Well, we're doing it for the 60 million people who've lost money to scammers in the past year. But more specifically, we're doing it for Bessie. You might recall from my previous video when I detailed exactly how one of these scams work.
Well, like my granny, Miss Bessie, do you know this?
Yeah.
She was like one of my closest. Oh, I used to share each and everything with her.
Basically, it starts with an email or a spam call, then they pretend to be Amazon or Microsoft, and they tell the victim that they've been charged $200 for something, but if you call back, you can dispute the charge. Then after they call, they eventually get on the victim's computer, and importantly, have the victim type the $200 refund amount into a bogus form.
Please enter your refund amount.
Only they take over and secretly type the amount of $20,000, and then they hit enter real quick.
Check everything. Is it correct?
Oh, no, this is a mistake. Oh, I screwed up.
Jesus.
It was supposed to be a 200 in there. Oh, God almighty. I'm exhausted. I can't do this. My mind is absolutely fried.
Please check your account. Did you really receive that money in your account?
Then they take her to a totally fake, spoofed bank account page where it looks like because of Bessie's mistake, they just sent her $20,000 instead of $200.
Oh my God. Plus 20,000.
Yeah.
Please save my job, ma'am. If I'll not earn for my family will die due to hunger, due to starvation.
Yes, of course. I mean, what should I do? I mean, I
It's
can,
bad for you. You are also like my grandmother.
I'm an honest
You are making
person.
me cry now. You are making me cry now. I'm getting attached to you.
Now, how do I fix this?
And now you can see how he's weaponized her empathy. Now to fix her mistake, how she's willing to go to the bank and withdraw what she thinks is an extra $20,000 in cash, when in reality, it's $20,000 of her hard-earned savings. And she's gonna send it in the mail to a heartless scammer. Now in case you think they've gotten a lot nicer over the last year, here's another call from a few weeks ago where the scam is to pretend they're from the government and there's some missing taxes they're owed.
I just retired, as I say, last February, and then I was diagnosed with breast cancer in August. So my retirement hasn't been very good so far. And after today, I know it's not your fault, but it's worse now.
So, I'm
As
so
I say,
sorry
I
to
would
hear that.
rather just pay it. Otherwise, I'll be worrying about it, and I'll be worse in my health. You know what I mean? Or even if I have to pay it in 2 halves.
So the scammer places her on hold to talk with the authorities to see if there's just something that can be done to help her out.
Thank you so much for holding the line, ma'am. I just had a word with the health authorities, and I informed them about your situation, and they are also concerned about your health.
So concerned, in fact, she'll only have to send these scammers $2,000.
Actual amount I'm missing in the tax slip was 1,489.
Now, last year's operation was effective in getting.
So I really like this video. If you want to see the full length version of this, you can search it on YouTube or online. Absolutely, it is phenomenal to watch. It actually made my day watching it because he really got back at these call centers and actually had 2 call centers closed down because of the rat and cockroach infestation. So, fun fact about the call centers in India, they don't even work on Saturdays or Sundays. Sundays, they close the building down completely because they are working Monday through Friday targeting people who are home. And what is that demographic? Seniors, exactly. So I like to show this, and I'm gonna try to edit this down to that little clip because you can see how he weaponized her emotions for his benefit. And that everything he was doing, those were fake websites that she could see on her computer, but he had created. I mean, it's really brilliant when you think about it, but it's weaponizing her emotions to make her think she made the mistake and now she owes them money. Please save my job, please. You have to go to the bank and get this money back. So I don't know. I personally, I was like, this is perfect, and it's a perfect introduction on how this whole presentation is going to kind of talk about the scam itself. Now I got to get back to way back at the beginning. Told you there's a lot of words. Okay. They pretend to be from an organization you know. Probably one of the biggest and most used here recently is Amazon. They pretend to be from Amazon because everyone's using Amazon to purchase things online. They say that there's a problem or you have won a prize. They try to use your imagination to lock in the deal. Some of the telltale signs, you can spot a con artist long before they know you're onto them simply by listening to some of these things. They pretend, they say there's a problem or a prize, they try to pressure you to act immediately, or they tell you to pay in a specific way. We call those the 4 Ps. Kind of, those things will jump out almost instantly. And those of us who recently have been scammed, I will tell you, I was like, I teach this and I fell for it. And I fell for it because it was the pressure to act. I was like, I gotta do this now. If I don't do it now, I'm gonna lose out. And yes, I lost money. So I'm a victim too. Anybody familiar with what phishing is? Email phishing? You were seniors? So this is a technique and a tactic that they will use to actually access your systems. Part of it, you're talking about way more tech savvy than I am about some of this stuff, but essentially they're looking for a means to backdoor your computer system or your phone or internet or something like that. And phishing is really easy to recognize because legitimate companies will not be sending you emails trying to get this information from you. They're literally phishing for information. They won't call you. They will call you by your name. They won't use generic greetings such as "Dear Sir, Madam," or to the household member, or things like that. And I'll show you a couple examples in a second. My absolute favorite: legitimate companies know how to spell, and you can see a phishing email from a mile away because it has so many grammatical and spelling errors. They also don't force you to their website. They will tell you, in a legitimate company, in an email or a text message, will tell you to go check your account. They won't give you a link to check your account, if that makes sense. And they also don't send unsolicited attachments, and those are just dangerous. I mean, I think we're at that point in society where we're all cautious to click on an attachment at this point because we don't know if it's a virus or a Trojan horse of some kind that will send all of our money to the Nigerian prince.
I know that game.
Yeah, I've talked to him multiple times. Some clues on how to spot those fake emails and profiles is look for things that just, they try to sell you that they're legitimate. The official seal. They'll copy signature blocks from other companies. That sense of urgency down here. Urgent. They want you to really act quickly to whom it may concern. That generic greeting. I mean, if I'm your account holder, you should be addressing me by my name. And then of course, that organization or company that might not even exist down here. And I love this one, we did this on purpose. Organization. Because those are some of the spelling errors you will see. They'll also try to use some official sounding language, and some of our scam phone calls will do this too. I'll talk about the phone calls in a moment. But that poor gramming and spelling, man, it's a huge, huge indicator. Should instantly delete or mark that as a spam email. Does anybody, I would hope no one, and I don't think we mentioned this in here, I do. But the last thing I want you to do is if you see a phishing email and there's an option down at the bottom to unsubscribe, don't do that either. Don't do that, because that very well could take you to the same link that they're trying to get you to go to. And with technology, I love this because this wasn't the case back 20 years ago when the internet was first breaking through and starting to, the World Wide Web was really starting to become prominent. Now, when you hover over something, you don't have to click it. You can see what address it's trying to take you to and if it's legitimate. So never click until you hover over something with your cursor to verify it. And what I do when I get a phishing email, or any kind of email these days, if there's multiple links in it, I'll hover over each one and I'll see if it's the same website. Because typically they are. And the moment I see a repeated website throughout the email, I'm like, spam, delete, block that address instantly. But yeah, just delete it, but hover over those links to see if it is, where it's going to take you to first before you click it. Some of the typical scams that we're seeing targeting our elder population, this is national, is the romance, the tech, the grandparent, the government impersonation, which is my favorite, because they call me too. the lottery or sweepstakes, home repair, TV, and family caregiver. Does anybody want to volunteer what they fell for?
Government
You fell for the government one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A lot of my clients fall for the family.
Yep, where you're talking, that one's a good one. I actually have a slide dedicated to it. I fell for the, it's actually not really up here. It's kind of falls in the sweepstakes lottery thing. It was the, hey, this is a special offer. It expires on Friday. If you want to take advantage of it now, quick, do this, and I did.
Mine was like a legal thing that I missed a court date.
Yeah, and that's government impersonation, and we'll talk specifically about that. Sure.
Where do like financial institutions fall? When I was about 18, I just got a bank account, just got a job and stuff like that. And I was with Wells Fargo, and I got a text saying that hey, something was wrong with my Wells Fargo account, and I had to open it up.
I'd say tech support.
Tech support.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So the romance one. This is I gave this similar condensed version of this to the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind. They have a transition program for young adults. They go through a transition program that gets them ready for living on their own and everything. Phenomenal organization, by the way. And it's really fun to talk to them. They have fallen for the romance scams countless times. And it's heartbreaking because they're getting ready to live on their own and be in the adult world on their own, and they're looking for companionship, so they fall for these super, super easy. Well, unfortunately, our elders do too, especially after they lose their spouse. And the common thing that we see is they just aren't what they appear, unfortunately. On average, $12,000 a scam. It's just mind-blowing to me. And it happens to both men and women. And if it just looks too good to be true, it is. It absolutely is. Because we're human and we like companionship. So people pride, they use that and they prey on it. The grandparent one is probably one of the most popular ones on social media that people talk about. And it's the, hey, I'm in Mexico on my spring break trip from college. I've been arrested by the authorities. I need help. Send me money. Well, how this is happening, and I told you there's way too many words, I gotta fix this, is scammers will actually use social media to their benefit, and they will look and see if your grandchild or child or great-grandchild is doing something in another state. They actually do their research on this before, and they use your ignorance of where your child or grandchild is to their advantage. Because, yeah, you know they're in college, but you might not know that they're on spring break in Mexico, which they're not. So they use that ignorance. The best defense to this is, when in doubt, ask a question they might not know. How's your dog doing? Did you take your dog with you? Kind of thing. And that might throw off the scammer a little bit. To really up the urgency of it, they can say that they're stuck in a foreign country or that they're hurt. I need help now. You know, I don't want to call mom and dad. You know how they're going to act if I call them. Please help me. And of course, grandparents are just, they have the biggest hearts when it comes to taking care of the grandkids.
You will leave them in jail.
Thank you.
I'm dating side, but you saw earlier, I can write a book.
Okay.
It is terrible
It is.
what they use.
And
No
the
money
highlight
for
to
me,
this one,
but I'm poor.
the highlight to this one too is they do it at night because we see a lot of our sundowners, dementia patients. And you wake somebody up, they're confused and they're more willing to help at that moment. Ma'am.
One thing that might help grandparents was something that happened to some good friends of ours, and they're very, very professional medical people and everything. And they got this whole grandchild in trouble scam. And they had the right name, they had everything. And when my friend was on, when she was on, the grandmother was on the phone, talking with who she thought was the granddaughter at the time, because the location was right, everything was right. All of a sudden, this young lady called her grandma. Right away, my friend stopped, and she said, "Grace, you never call me grandma." She said, "This is not Grace," because this woman was very Norwegian, and she went by Bessemer, I think. But anyway, she said, "You have never called me grandma. This is not," and that did it.
I'm glad she caught that. It's those little subtle hints, right?
So if you go by something other than grandma or grandpa, it might help you.
So one of the things that our scammers will do in this situation is they will spoof a number. So sometimes they will make it look like it's coming from a jail or something like that. So on caller ID, it'll say El Paso County Jail. That's not legitimate. They're using technology to their benefit, and they're making it look like it's coming from that. So one of the things I actually mention is if you get a call like that, and we all have technology in our pockets, while you're on the phone with that person, text or call their legitimate number and see if they answer. Because you'd be surprised. They might say, "Hey, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I haven't heard from you guys in a while." And that might alert you right then that this is fake. I mean, just really quick. And I love your response. That was just that. Leave them in jail. So one of the seniors I talked to, actually, while she was on the phone with the scammer who she thought was the grandchild, who was in Mexico in trouble, texted their daughter and said, "Hey, where's Haley?" or whatever. Where's Jennifer at?" "Oh, she's at college. She's studying for finals or whatever." And so she knew right then that this had to be fake. This had to be a scheme. But the grandparent scheme, and I brought a ton of handout materials. Please, before you leave, look through that corner. These are all covered. They're individual sheets that tell you how the scam works and some of the ways to defeat it. And it's all about knowledge. Knowledge is power, right? Just knowing that these exist is the first step. Thank you for your input. That was great. I love that. They gave themselves away. The police warrant one. This one is very prevalent in Colorado Springs because they use the fact that we have a major metropolitan police force, the Colorado Springs Police Department, and El Paso County Sheriff's Office to their benefit. We have two law enforcement entities in the same area, and they use this to their advantage. How this typically will go is it will come from a number that has been spoofed. So it'll look like it's coming from the courthouse or jail, and they will clearly say you missed jury duty or you failed to pay a warrant, and we need to get this taken care of right away. Okay? Your attention to this matter is of the utmost importance to the courthouse, and we want to get this taken care of. They use the fear of law enforcement action to their benefit because no one wants to be in trouble with the law, especially those of us who walk the righteous path. Who does this not work on? Criminals, right? They don't care. They're all whatever.
Or they know the system.
They don't care. They're like, "Yeah, no, I didn't miss court. I got court next Tuesday." So the key to this though is that caller ID, and please, please, please don't do what I'm seeing. Part of my job is I'm on social media all day. Nextdoor, Ring, and Facebook, monitoring things. I'm not spying on you all, but I'm looking for things that are happening in our community to then give to our command leadership so that they can make decisions. When people were saying, well, don't go to Ute Valley because I hear that there's a sexual predator walking around and he's going to assault women. I'm like, wait a second, we need to get ahead of that. So that's why I'm on it. I'm not spying on you. I'm just trying to see what people are talking about. And what I see being talked about on social media regarding this is everyone is recommending to each other to block that phone number. So if you get a phone call on your call ID that says El Paso County Jail from a spoofed number from a scammer, don't block that number. What if it was, what if in the future you have a legitimate phone call from them? It now comes up as spam, right? And it won't go through. And we're seeing this personally because so many phone numbers have been blocked at this point in the city because of scammers. When we try calling people from our legitimate phone numbers, they're not going through. So it's actually, it's hurting us. So whatever you do, don't block the number, because just because it's spoofed, it's still legitimate. Man.
Would that affect like reverse 911?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so I got to get ahead of that. I don't know how to, because the first reaction is, well, I'll just block this. It's a scammer. Well, yeah, the person on the phone is the scammer, but the phone number is still legitimate. Does that make sense? It's very frustrating.
A lot of, like, I get those, whatever scam calls, and I'm in sales, so you gotta answer your phone. And I answer the phone and it's, something stupid. I hang up and I call that number back, and like,
They have no idea.
Betty answers,
Yeah.
and she's like, what do you mean? I didn't just call you.
Yeah.
Like, well, your phone
And
did.
so that is one of the methods to defeat this is, hang up on them and then call it back and say, I just got a call from this phone number saying I owe, money for a warrant. And the person who answers it is going to be a legitimate person at that point, and they're going to say, no. They're going to help you get through this situation. And, they will absolutely try to scare you. And their biggest tactic is they want to keep you on the phone. So it sure would be a shame if you just lost the call signal, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't feel bad, if it's legitimate, we'll call you back. In fact, I'll take it another step. If it's a legitimate and you've missed jury duty or you have a warrant, we're not going to call you. We're going to come find you at your house. We never, and that's actually in my public safety announcement that I do, my video that I have that's out there in the community, is we say that clearly. We're like, we won't call you for this. We will actually come talk to you about it. Or we'll have you come to us and talk to you about it. They want to keep you on the phone. And the reason they want to keep you on the phone is they want to get that fear that inoculated into you and ingrained in you that you've got to take care of this. And the best method is, well, you got to go get a cashier's check and get it sent in because we don't take cash. Or you got to get a prepaid debit card. I heard someone talking about prepaid debit card when I was sitting in the chair. Yeah, got to keep you on the phone the entire time. If you hang up on me, you're going to be immediately arrested. No, you're not. You know how hard it is to arrest somebody in Colorado these days? Let me tell you, it's hard. Yeah, it's not that easy. The text scams, I get these so much, and we'll see this a lot during the election year cycles, where you'll be like, hey, do you still support, Don Bennett or whatever, or you still support Governor Paulus, follow this link. Don't, just don't. Do the research yourself and go find it online yourself. Don't follow links that are sent to you. The one that's kind of out there around March and April and May timeframe is the IRS one. Double check if your IRS, if your 1040 has been received by the federal government. Click this link to verify that it was received. It takes you to some fraudulent website or something. They do that. Is it a surprise to anybody that all of our phone numbers are compromised and are in Russia and China and India and all those places? Yeah. And it's really sad because it's the companies that we trust that are selling that information to all those third-party locations. And people are trying to get ahead of that now. Apple's really trying to get ahead of it, trying to It creates some privacy restrictions, but our stuff's out there. My stuff, I was a victim of the federal government back in 2014. Imagine that, right?
The federal government.
Yeah.
They work for it.
So my entire security clearance with the military was compromised, and that included my mother's maiden name, where I grew up, the street I grew up on, my first pet's name. Every single thing was compromised during the data breach by the government. And so at this point, I'm like, they own everything. I don't care. So yeah, they know everything, man. They know every single thing about me. And it's being sold, it's being traded around the black market like crazy. So if you think that the do not call registry works, bless your heart. I think it has a purpose. I don't think it works appropriately though, unfortunately.
Well, clearly not with the amount of calls we all.
Clearly not, absolutely.
Right.
But it doesn't apply to international entities either.
It does
Only
not.
applies to American-based companies.
And that's the problem is they've sold our information overseas and that's where it's being used. The one we really saw was during COVID is we were seeing, check here to see if your COVID test is positive or negative. These were going out in mass because of the fear that was surrounding it. They're weaponizing your fear. Some examples of it. We've all seen these. You've probably all gotten a text that looks like this. Who's my banking person? Adam's Bank over there. That just doesn't even look right. Yeah, please confirm you put your PIN in.
And I got one of those one time, and it was actually legit from my bank.
And it
Which
frustrates
is
me when they do that.
Really?
That's the one I got. They called me to call and I entered my PIN. I was like 17.
So, but it was legitimate sounding,
Oh yeah.
I saw one the other day, and it did not come through as a text. It came through as an email, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I applaud the people for doing it. And you're gonna love this because what was the first thing I did is when it looked like phishing to me. It looked like a scam. I hovered over the links to see what it was, and it was actually McAfee, the antivirus software people, the people that protect us, and it was an advertisement. So if you clicked it, it actually took you to their website and said, you could have easily just now been a victim. You should purchase our product to help you with security. And I was like, wow. I was so proud. I was like, that is great. Now, our city of Colorado Springs, our IT department, they play jokes at us all the time. And they do it because they want us to be very cyber aware. So they send us stuff like this all the time. They'll do stuff that to me, I'm an old intelligence guy from the Army, so I find this stuff fascinating. They will leave thumb drives in elevators at like the city building to see who picks it up and plugs it in. And then when they do, they'll get a message. IT has found you. Please give us our thumb drive. They do these jokes and I love it because it actually makes you aware. What should you do if you find a thumb drive in an elevator? Ignore it.
Right.
Or maybe take it to lost and found. But don't plug it in. So they do these jokes to us all the time. And then I'm waiting on them to do a text message because it's going to be fun.
Have they done a QR code one yet?
Yes. And I took my wife to Meow Wolf, the new art museum up in Denver, and they have one of the displays in there is about the size of this wall. And it has thousands of QR codes on it, the scannable codes. And I was laughing to myself watching everyone walk up there and scan those codes. And I said, why are you guys doing that? You have no idea where it's taking you to. It's going to be uploading a virus or deleting your phone numbers on your phone or who knows what's going on.
Because Meow Wolf's not going to do that to us.
No, but and what we saw during COVID. So what we saw during COVID was we went to the touchless. I don't have QR codes in here. I'm going to actually put that in. So during COVID, we saw touchless menus. There were no menus in any restaurants. So if you wanted to see what was on the menu, you had to scan it on your stinking phone. Did not like that. We saw a trend, not here, but nationally, where criminals were taking their own QR code and they were overlaying it onto that menu. And when you scanned it, it was actually accessing your phone and uploading either uploading or downloading material. The most common is when you scanned it, it was actually sending your entire contact list to them so that then they could sell that information to a third party. That was the most common. So they weren't necessarily uploading bad stuff, they were just accessing your Yeah, I love these too. The random photo that you get. I don't know this person. Yeah, oh yeah, your bill is paid for March. Here's a little gift for you. That sounds, this is kind of what I feel for. I was like, oh, I need to take care of that. I know, I feel for it. And you'll see that some of their stuff is just, I mean, this URL associated with this, it raises red flags to me because there's just too much going on there. Not to mention the fact that there's a space between the dollars. There's just poor grammar associated with it. There should be an indicator. Now, the big argument is some of these will say at the bottom to continue receiving, hit 1. To stop receiving these messages, hit stop. And we inserted this after the last class because I got to talking to a tech guy. And he said, actually, what's happening when you do stop, when you hit stop on all those messages that you get, it actually confirms that your phone number is legitimate, and then they sell it to a third party.
Same if you answer the call.
Yeah. So and I used to, up until I talked to him, I would answer the calls, and then I would just start hitting numbers, just until they hung up on me. And then he explained to me, he goes, well, you just confirmed that a live person exists. So I said, well, should I start making fax sounds? Because that would be funny, yeah, to me. But he goes, no, because you're still confirming that's a legitimate phone number and someone will answer it. So I have to stop texting stop. That was something I was doing a lot.
It's kind of like the unsubscribe on the email.
The unsubscribe does work sometimes because if it's coming from a U.S. entity, and you mentioned it, if it's coming from a U.S. entity, so any financial institutions or companies that are registered in the United States, if they fail to oblige to your unsubscribe, they can be charged federally. So unsubscribes do work if it's the U.S.
Right, but if it's a phishing email, it's
phishing,
kind of like the stop. It's not going to work.
Yes, I've got to stop doing that. I have to stop doing stop. So, if you have unwanted group text messages, and those are those ones where you have 20 people up there that are getting the same thing, you can actually block their information through iPhone or Android by just opening up the text. You can tap certain things and block that caller. If you're not familiar, I'm going to share these with you so that, or actually I guess with you, so that you know, in a PDF format so that you can share these out with people. It's not that hard to actually block these on your phone. You can also, iPhone is cool because you can actually hold down the message and text everything to 7726, which is literally the word spam. And that goes to these entities, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. I don't know about prepaid phones, but I know these three it does. And they'll actually use that to start blocking that from spam.
And Google phones too will ask you if a call is spam or something for you to help.
The companies are actually starting to come on our side because they're losing growth, essentially.
They're going to start getting their own investigations.
And this is why. It's because $1 billion in 2020. These are people over 60.
Even when you text spam, it goes back and it says possible spam. So all these numbers get listed as possible spam. The problem is it takes 30 seconds for them to get a new phone number. There's actually services, as soon as they find out that their number is listed as possible spam, they go in and get another number.
Or they just spoof it to begin with.
So, because none of those numbers are actually real. All of these telemarketers actually have a program where as soon as they get a spam likely notice on their phone number, they go in, drop that number, change to another. So it slows them down for approximately a minute.
My favorite is I have an out-of-state area code on my phone, and it's an Arkansas number. And the calls I get, the robocall spam calls, well, the area code and the first 3 digits of the number match mine every single time. And it's because they're trying to say, well, this must be somebody I know. It's coming from Arkansas, and it's coming from a similar number. They're feeding off of that. They're weaponizing emotions, you know. I mean, who calls me from Arkansas? 2 people, my mom and my dad. And so if they're weaponizing the fact that if I see an Arkansas area code, maybe something's wrong and I need to answer it. It's just, it's evil. What an evil concept to take advantage of people like this. Yeah, the key to this pyramid is unfortunately only 28% of losses were actually reported to the federal government. IC3 is acronym for the Internet Crimes. I can't think what it's called. Internet Crimes something, but it's part of the FBI. Yeah, only 28% got actually reported. Because most people are shame, or they feel shame about it. I didn't report when I lost my $100 for that thing that I ordered that I had to order by Friday. I didn't report it. I was like, well, it went to Korea.
And why not?
Yeah, why?
In Paris.
Shame.
I also think it's not,
A little bit shame.
nothing's gonna happen.
That was part of it. I was like, there's having worked in this position, I know nothing was going to happen. The only thing I was doing was essentially feeding into the machine. Shame on me for thinking that, because we should all report it, because the more we report it, the more people can start to fight it. So shame on me for
You're gonna tell us where to
being
record
lazy.
it?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, what we really saw, what do you think happened right around that 2019-2020 time frame where people were victimized? COVID, yeah. Yeah. They weaponized our fear. But overall, Colorado's kind of right in the middle of, as far as number of victims over 60. I laugh at this. I'm like, well, what do you think's going on here? It's Florida. Yeah, it's retirement. Texas, I have no clue why Texas is way up there. Is that upstate? Is that upstate New York?
New York.
It's New York, period, New York.
So apparently the Midwest is the safe location if you're
Because nobody lives up there.
Or Mississippi.
Yeah.
Or Mississippi, which
They're
is
not
that
answering
way.
their phones, they're cold.
I think part of that's the elder abuse laws, because South Dakota's tough as heck. South
That-
Dakota don't
I
play.
think you
They'll put
actually
in
are onto
prison.
something there.
For
I'm gonna
like
research
$500
that.
in South Dakota, you'll go to prison. In
I-
Colorado, it's like 80 grand.
I think Wyoming's the same way too. Well, number one, there's more elk in Wyoming than there are people.
But they have a higher senior population per capita. Who lives there? The kids have moved away. Those are all seniors, but they have some
It's
of the
true.
toughest elder care laws in the country.
I'm gonna look into
Wyoming,
that.
South Dakota, North Dakota, are very tough.
Well, did you watch that show, that
Oh,
Dr.
that's-
Death show? That's
Yeah.
how they finally got him, was elder abuse. 'Cause
Yep.
they couldn't get him on any of the fraud or anything else.
Yeah, so we rank, Colorado ranks right at number 5 on victims per state, and we're at 15 on losses by state. So we have a high number of victims, but a low number of claims, which I would have thought that those would have kind of been.
20 million is a lot.
That was reported. Reported.
Well, and I think too, like sometimes, you know, if you use a credit card or your bank helps you recover the money, like then you don't really think of it as a loss or as a fraud or as something else. And so then you don't really report that.
You know, and one of the, and going back to that is knowing how to report it, and I'll cover that in a moment. But the other thing we saw during COVID was unemployment scams. That was significant, and that kind of helped bump the numbers up a lot. A lot of people were getting their stuff taken advantage of. There's a lot of numbers.
COVID scam, I mean, during that time, what was, because my son plays video games, it was connected to video games. I don't really have that age group, but anything that, any card that was connected to video game.
That's true. I didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Because everybody was at home, so what were they doing? They were online.
Right.
So actually,
So we had like multiple times where whatever game he was playing.
was getting hacked.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say
So
that.
that's
So COVID was weird. It really threw a lot of our data
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Like a lot of our data got skewed from 2020 to roughly early 2022. And one of the fun things that I have the Boy Scout do is his Eagle Project in 2020. We shut down roughly mid-April to end of April. Here, that was when we kind of locked everything down. And he said, I'm doing my Eagle Scout project on mail theft and porch pirates, people that take Amazon packages. Can you run your data and see how many have happened? And when I did, I was shocked to see what I saw. So the month of April and May in 2020, we had porch pirate incident in the entire city for 2 months. Why?
Oh,
Everyone was home ordering stuff online, waiting for it, and as soon as that dropped on the front porch, they were opening their door up and they were getting it. And I was fascinated by that. I was like, wow. But now it's back up, skyrocketing again. But for 2 months, we had one porch pirate incident in the entire city. So how do you protect yourself is obviously recognize what kind of scams are out there. And then if you think you are being scammed, just hang up, just stop, just disengage. And that's the same thing I tell my wife with road rage in this time. If you're getting road rage, just stop. Take the next exit, slow down, do something, just disengage. You can also search online for your own contact information to see what's out there. Or you can search the thing that they're trying to sell you. Okay? And resist. Don't be Mr. Wilkerson. Resist the urge to act quickly. That is key. Because they want that urgency to have that fear to lure you in. Be cautious about phone calls, mailings, door-to-door. So there is no law in the city where we have to have solicitation permits for solicitors, so they can come to your door, fortunately. But it's not rude to say, no, thank you, and close the door. I did it just the other day.
What if there is a sign posted like a townhouse complex that says no soliciting? What kind of?
So that is a tricky question because there's no laws against the soliciting. It depends upon whether or not your HOA or your community wants to charge them with trespassing. So that's the option. And that's how I would suggest people call it in. It's like there is a solicitor in our neighborhood trespassing, and he has been told to leave. That's how I kind of portray it. Because we don't, so I have 48 homes in my little community, and we don't have a sign like that. But individually, we have them on our homes. So I wish my HOA would do a blanket that says no solicitors allowed. But at the same time, we have gotten good services from solicitors that have come through, especially things like True Green Lawn Services. Girl Scout. Girl Scout. Exactly. Thank you. You know, I don't want to turn the Girl Scouts away.
No.
You.
Girl Scouts.
They don't hardly anymore. They're all stuff from
Yeah,
the
I would
grocery
not
store.
recommend my girl go out walking around door to door.
Not anymore. That's why they set up at the grocery stores now, right?
But they're not supposed to do that anymore.
Yeah,
That's not,
It
that's what people describe.
So make sure your computer antivirus software, your phone antivirus software is up to date. Make sure when your phone tells you it needs to update software, update it. The only time phone companies or the Android or whoever will send updates is when they have identified a vulnerability that needs to be fixed. So please update that. You can always, if somebody starts hacking your computer, just unplug it, get it off the internet right then. Because it's repairable at that point. If you can sever that connection, then you can fix it later. Yeah, a lot of this I've already covered. Hover over the links, be wary of where those links take you to. And then take precautions to protect your identity. Does anybody use like LifeLock or anything? Do you use LifeLock? I actually have several running simultaneously. I also have several credit things that every week I get a credit update. So I'm super cautious because of the federal government. Thank you very much, federal government. And now, so I have several running that, and I compare them. I compare their data to see like what they're tracking, because my stuff's out there. I know it's vulnerable. I know it's going to be used against me. So if I can get an alert that something is wrong and take care of it first, that's great. And that's something you might cover with like the banking stuff. I'm not sure, but it's like I tell you, the credit freezes and credit alerts. There's a brochure over there that actually covers on what the difference is between a freeze and an alert. Please use them.
I can read that obviously, but do you recommend an alert or a freeze?
Well, so the freeze is when something happens. The alert is when you think your stuff is compromised. So it's kind of like the difference between a tornado warning and a tornado watch. The conditions are right where your stuff is compromised and it might be taken advantage of. Let's say your driver's license was stolen. You're gonna put an alert on your credit. If you're actually scammed and your stuff is compromised at that point, we're gonna freeze your credit.
But should you,
And I know there's more to it than that, but
should you is it a good idea to just freeze your credit like at our age?
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and just unfreeze the thought out when you're ready to use it?
my understanding is yes, if you're not going to be making purchases.
Yeah,
It's just
and that
easier.
protects them too, like, I had mine frozen because I was a victim of the Experience hack, or the Experience hack. So I know all my stuff is out there, so change your passwords frequently. I froze mine when I was refinancing my house. I just had to, they'll issue you a PIN, you give them that PIN, they'll unfreeze it and you give them a length of time, 24 hours, 1
And
week.
it's free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is free.
So what does it do to freeze your credit? Like,
So on a
Nobody
credit
can
freeze,
apply
we
for a
actually
credit
did
card
a
or a loan
class
in your
on
name.
this, but on a credit freeze, you call in, you do have to call the 3 credit bureaus, they ask you some of your information, but they do not ask your social security number, they don't ask any of that. They'll ask like streets you've lived on, even to the high school you've graduated from. That's what the credit bureaus know all that. So they'll ask that information, you get that verified, and you've frozen your credit. To unfreeze it, when you establish it, you give them a PIN number. You have to know your PIN number. You can call in and unfreeze it. It takes effect immediately once you call in and give them the PIN number. And you can tell them, I want to unfreeze it for 5 days, 10 days, 30 days while you're applying for credit. And then you're going to call back, give them the PIN number, and you're going to refreeze it. So nobody during that time can open a credit card in your name or a car loan in your name or access anything. They can't even check your credit because it'll come back as a frozen account. It also prevents if you have creditors that check your credit constantly, it'll prevent them from doing that. Let's say you have a credit card and they check your credit every 6 months to see if they want to give you more money, and that's harming your score. But if you're done, like you guys are, you don't need a mortgage and you've paid off the car and you're not applying for credit cards, freeze it. Just freeze it. There's no reason you need to leave it exposed. And it takes 15 minutes to unfreeze it.
That's a great explanation.
And it all has to be done online?
No, you can do it by phone or online. I can send you guys I'll get it to Connie, but I can send you the phone numbers for the 3 credit bureaus. They will ask you some information over the phone, but again, they do not ask your social security number ever. And it is the actual credit bureaus, and they'll ask you things like, you financed a car loan in 2016 or around March of 2016, what type of car did you finance? Those are the type of questions they'll ask you. And then you give them a PIN number.
So you call them and freeze your account so nobody can, but you're still able to use the credit cards you have.
You can use your existing
But
credit.
nobody can get
Open new
any
ones.
others in your name.
Exactly. So, and like I said, if you're not actively shopping for a mortgage or a car loan, you're kind of done with that phase of your life, then just freeze it. It's easier to just freeze it. No one can commit fraud in your name at that point. They can still try to call you and ask them to send the money to the Nigerian prince and go to Walgreens and get some debit cards, but they can't go out and take a loan in your name.
They
And
can't
that's
permanently-
important.
Yeah, they can't permanently harm your credit.
So
And I
how
know
are we
this-
going to get these numbers?
I'll get it to
They're all on the
Connie,
sheets.
They're also
and
in the
they should
books.
be on there on those notes. But the biggest reason for credit freezes, you guys, and I mean, I insure 9,200 seniors, so trust me, we get a fraud call a week, where someone's been conned. But the biggest credit freeze issue is honestly, guys, caregivers and family. If they have access, especially like you signed over a power of attorney, things like this happen, or you have a grandchild or someone who has access to your accounts and they can open accounts in your name. So the one that I see the most is unfortunately caregivers. That doesn't have to be a family member, it could be someone who's just coming into your home providing care, but they can open bank accounts because they know enough of your private information to do so. So if you don't need it, freeze it.
And who are you with? And who are you with?
I actually own a Medicare agency. It's AIS Medicare and More. My card's over there.
Okay.
If you want, I can get you the information. We teach a class on it. Just, if you don't need the credit, freeze it. It's super simple.
So the next few slides are the most important ones. How you can report stuff or educate yourself on all the scams that are out there. Highly encourage you, even if the fraud or the scam happened out of state, meaning you were called from India and they tried to scam you, still report it. The only time we need the actual documentation of it is if the transaction actually occurred. We don't need, CSPD will not investigate potential scams. We will only investigate legitimate ones that where transactions have processed through. So if you have fallen victim to a gift card scam or something like that, that's when it needs to be reported to us. And that can be done through the three mechanisms: 911, 444, 7000, or online. And that's unfortunately what we're going to rapidly here due to manpower issues and changes in the legislature, is a lot more crimes are going to be reported online and not in person anymore. So, but you can absolutely call the non-emergency number if it's, because you're not in danger at that point. You've just been scammed, to report it. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go to India and arrest people, but we're still going to document that you were the victim, and it helps you recover your identity or money if we have a case report to associate to it. That's the most important part.
Can I just think about reporting? Well, my scam was there's a warrant out for your arrest, blah, 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 the whole fear, all fear. And thankfully my bank, the grocery store I had to go to, the police department, everybody responded because I called. So we were able to recoup all of our money. And then we reported everything to the FBI. Come to find out there was a mass attack on our city specific. They walked away with $13 billion that day alone across our nation. And because so many people reported it, they caught the people in India doing it. Wow. And so they were able to, they didn't have to recoup any of my money, but I got a letter from the FBI saying that they did catch these 13 Indians from India who were scamming Americans. So please make sure you're reporting things, even if it doesn't
They
seem.
sent you a letter to let you know that.
Yep.
So
That's why I was like, whoa,
Did
this
you know it was a
actually
legit
worked.
letter? What the
I learned my lessons, Lucy. Now I double, triple
That came
check
from India.
everything.
That letter from the FBI is
Yes.
postmarked from India.
And it's a bunch of misspellings. And
Yeah.
Yes, correct, FID.
So that, so the IC3, let's see if this opens up. Maybe.
I'll just give it a minute. Well, while that's opening, if you guys do want more information and slides and the video and all of that, make sure you put your email address up here before you leave, and then we can get that all to you guys.
So Internet Crime Compliance Center, I could never, but it is the FBI, and you can file a complaint like if there's a fraudulent website or scam email, anything pretty much related to internet crime complaints. So you can either be the victim or third party. So that's the best part. You file a complaint, super easy. This all goes into the giant brain that is the FBI, and then they can subsequently start to fight the good fight. Of course, FBI.gov, IC3 is repeated up there. Consumer finance, the ones that, I'm gonna have to add some up here. We do have FTC up there, Consumer FTC. They are great because they actually have the current scams that are going on. The other one is the FCC because they deal with all of the telephone calls. So you can report scams, or if you got a suspicious phone call, you can report it to these individuals through online services. The FTC one is neat in the fact that it actually walks you through a lot of the processes of recovering your identity, on how to handle all these different things. Who knew the FTC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have report fraud, FTC.gov. Really cool. And I don't think they have. Oh yeah, they can do like not enough baby formula means opportunity for scammers. They're so on top of it. So talk about being I'm all about the education is empowerment. This is where you get it from. It's from these government entities. Trust the government, right? They're gonna help.
That baby formula thing's scary. They're selling you baby formula online, and what's in the can is not baby formula. It hospitalized 2 kids. That's what that's about.
So I relate it back to my experiences in the Middle East, where if you bought a 5-gallon can of gas, it was about 5% gas and about 95% water because it had been watered down so much. And that's kind of the same thing. I'm like, I don't know if I trust it.
I don't know what's in the powder, but
I don't either.
they try to
Probably
make it
fentanyl.
look like it's baby formula, but it put 2 kids in the hospital this week.
StopFraudColorado.gov is the Attorney General's website for the state of Colorado. This is my absolute favorite. I love this one. This was the one that helped fight the unemployment fraud that was going on during COVID. And the governor's attorney general was able to get ahead of that and try to recoup some of the money. We've put so many people in jail for that. It was wild. So great.
Everybody I knew, everybody I know had to claim unemployment.
Oh, it was
claim
unbelievable.
against it.
It was amazing how they weaponized it.
We had seniors of ours get hit, and the people that were taking their money were already in jail.
Oh,
They were in jail claiming to get unemployment. It was crazy.
And again, I'll send all these out, and this is a work in progress, so bear with me. But there's just tons of websites out there. Oh, this is my friend from this. Has anybody seen this commercial? We don't have cable. I have over-the-air TV because I don't like cable. But this comes on every night when I'm laying in bed on the local channels. I love this commercial. He does such a great job.
Call a message that mentioned Social Security that made you feel threatened or scared? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, press you for personal information, or demand instant payment. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Don't fall for it. Hang up, ignore them. Report this criminal activity to oig.ssa.gov.
Producer U.S. taxpayer expense.
I love him because he's like, we do not do that.
That's
It's very straightforward. I told our chiefs, I was like, can I do one of these too?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's a little aggressive. And I was like, it works.
Yeah.
He's like, we don't do, if we want your money, we will come get it. That's pretty much what he
We
says.
want you, we will come get you.
Yeah. we will come get it. That just blows my mind.
Did you get it?
I hope you took something out of this, even if it was just the types of scams that we have. This is a work in progress. I actually got several things I add today after talking to you. QR codes is one of them. And we are here for you. When in doubt, hang it up and call somebody who might have information about it. I get at least one a day, either emails or phone calls from people saying, "Hey, this happened. Is this legitimate?" And 9 times out of 10.
Can you speak to the title fraud thing with that we're hearing about from some commercial? I can't remember who's on. I think it's
yeah, that they're taking your house.
No. And I'm just gonna voice my irritation with the whole thing because, and I realize this is the world we're in, is that I have to pay for things to protect my identity that I've already paid taxes on that should be protected. So.
And I'm not really educated on it, but I feel your frustration because every house I've ever bought, I've done title insurance to make sure that it's protected. And so I don't know why it's like, why am I paying for this if it's still vulnerable? That is going to be, and I tell you who's going to ultimately who's going to be the strongest arm to get something done about it, and it's the Attorney General's office with the state. The more complaints they get about that type of fraud, they will start putting protective measures. But I'm with you. I'm already paying for it. Why am I paying for it?
Even with LifeLock, how many you have? You said you have not accounts. It's like I shouldn't even have to pay for it.
As far as to recover
and if I don't have any insurance, I can pay for it. But what if you're somebody who doesn't? That's going to break their budget.
And I'm
But
not,
it is free to freeze your credit, and it
Yeah,
is more
it is
effective
free.
than LifeLock.
Yeah.
LifeLock will help you get your money back, but
I just
it's,
like that's what's advertised.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
It's more effective to just shut it down, freeze your account,
So-
unfreeze it when you need it.
so what are specifically are you referencing? Because I might not be totally educated on this.
On the title,
Yeah, is it,
just if you, and I'm not experienced with it, and I haven't experienced it, or I've had some experience with some of the fraud that's out there, but, there's an advertisement on television, I think it's Pat Boone or somebody famous, who talks about having to buy certain insurance to protect the title of your property, because anybody can come in and make a copy or whatever, and it's a conversation whenever we hear the commercial in my house, that we shouldn't have to do that.
Well, the commercial's so terrible.
It is,
At least
it's
on the
horrible.
radio, it's like somebody's gonna take your title and put their name on it and evict you. And I'm sitting there listening to this commercial, I'm like, all of this is very incorrect, but it's intense when you hear it.
But if you buy their product,
it's that fear,
That's
it's
why.
the fear-based society approach,
Exactly.
you know, that's why we buy goods and services, you know. That, for example, Boone is trying to get you to
I don't know if it's him.
subscribe, but that's a great example.
Yeah.
I actually just
I'm-
looked it up here. Quicken Loans has something. How can someone steal your title? It says they steal your identity first.
Yeah.
So if you protect your identity, and then they forge a deed, making it look like they're the property owner, and then they go out and try to refinance or cash out equity, walking away with your equity. So they're
So
getting your identity and then
doing
doing fraudulent.
So there are
stuff to
steps
retire.
before
If your
that.
credit's frozen, they
Yeah.
couldn't do
So,
that.
I was
Again,
gonna
freeze
say,
your credit.
freeze your
Before that.
credit.
Freeze your
Yeah,
credit.
that's a good idea.
Yep.
Or like every week
Check
when I
your
get
title
the credit update, you know, every single week where it's, I look at it, legitimately look at my stuff.
And then spouses, make sure you talk to each other, because my parents froze their credit, and then my mom went to buy a car, and my stepfather completely forgot he had done it.
That happens
It was so frustrating.
often.
Sure he did.
but you can call and unfreeze it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information, so make sure we get your emails so I can send out more information afterwards. But sorry, your picture's not working, so how
That's okay. I don't know if I
asking?
sent you one, so unless you added one in.
I steal everything.
Oh, okay.
It did
That's
say
why
the
it's not
BBB
working.
up there, yeah, exactly. But,
You stole it from somewhere.
this is Ada from the BBB, she's gonna talk to us a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, my name is Ada. I'm with the Better Business Bureau. And we are another resource as it relates to scam prevention, education, and awareness. I need to get our website added to his list of resources. But I'm gonna talk just briefly about what we offer, what are resources, who we are, what we may be able to supplement. We have a great tool called Scam Tracker that we'll talk a little bit about as far as reporting scams and researching scams. How many people are familiar with the BBB? Okay, I think most people are familiar, at least you've seen the seal, right? If nothing else, you know the accreditation seal, which is where we do pretty thorough business investigations and ensure businesses are meeting our 8 standards of trust, and then they essentially earn that accreditation seal. If they don't have that seal, does not mean they're an unethical business, it just means they have not gone through that thorough investigation with us. Our biggest service and one of our most important services is that we provide free business information 24/7 on our website. So you can research businesses there, you can find out if they're accredited, if they have complaints, reviews. We even put unethical businesses on our website, and oftentimes they'll have an F rating, or you'll see an alert indicating that they're not licensed, or there was an investigation on them. I highly encourage you check BBB before you partner with someone long-term, especially contractors. If they're not on our website, that also does not mean that they're legit or not legit. It could just mean that we are not aware of that business. Keeping our business data updated is a full-time job, and we are a nonprofit. And for those of you that have worked in nonprofits know that it's tough to do anything full-time. So let us know if there's a business missing. We'd like to add it and do our research. So utilize our website for sure to try to partner with businesses that are the most ethical. Our whole mission is to build marketplace trust between consumers and businesses. So that's just one of the ways we do it. We also offer dispute resolution services. So if you have a complaint, if you want to file a customer review on businesses, we will help process that at no cost as well. So to talk about the scams, we see constant shifts in scams. So people report scams to us via phone, via email, scam tracker that I'll talk about. I did not do a presentation, but I do have some handouts over there, and I'll kind of show them up here, but you can get an idea as to what scam tracker looks like. But we work with local media, we do work some with law enforcement, Attorney General, FBI. We have collaborative meetings once a quarter to talk about some of the top scams that we're seeing and they're seeing. Also some of the most unethical businesses. We've actually worked with FTC to get some businesses shut down that have been doing just horrible scamming things in our community and stealing money. So the more you report, the more we can help prevent and protect. So our scam tracker, and I'll show you, it's on that, there's a flyer back there, but essentially it's, I don't expect you guys to be able to see this up here, but you'll see it on this flyer back there. And it's online, and what you can use Scam Tracker for, the website's also on the handout. You can use it to research a scam, meaning, let's say you just got a phone call about the title scam, you mentioned that. If you are curious about that, you can go in and type in the keywords and see who else has maybe received a phishing call on that or a scam on that. You don't have to lose money to be a victim of a scam. If you get a call, a text message, a phishing email, you were victimized, you just didn't necessarily fall for it. So I encourage you to report everything as much as you possibly can, because one, power in numbers. So the more reports there are of one particular phishing scam or phishing text, we can work to get that website shut down. There's just a lot more power when you're reporting and submitting information, even if you don't lose money, it's still important. Certainly the ones where the higher dollar loss are the ones that typically get handled and taken care of first and investigated. That's where they put city and community FBI resources to. But it does not mean that it's not important to submit some of these calls or emails. Again, Scam Tracker is a great resource. We're working on revising that tool and trying to integrate it more with Stop Fraud Colorado. Officer Wilkerson showed that website through the Attorney General's office. That is a fantastic resource. I completely agree with him. It's one of our favorite places to send people. If you've been victimized or you just want to stay on top of the scams, they're constantly changing. I can't tell you guys, every single week we hear things and we're like, who would even come up with that? Scammers are incredibly innovative and smart, and they prey on vulnerable situations. So if there's a natural disaster, hailstorm, like you described, that's when you're gonna see more of the scammers coming around and move to do contracting work. So yeah, my biggest tip for anyone is to do your research and ask questions. You should never feel pressured. If you feel pressured, that's probably a red flag right there. If someone's pressuring you to take advantage of a deal, or let us fix your gutters right now and we'll give you 50% off. Probably not a good deal. Do the research, make sure that they're a legitimate company, and work with us so that we can help keep you protected the best that we possibly can. A couple other things before I kind of pass it on. Again, our services are listed on here. If you are curious a little bit more about what we do, we do not have a walk-in office, but you can call us or you can visit our website and we'll give you information and help you that way. Through COVID, obviously we were shut down, and afterwards when we came back, we realized we were paying for a receptionist for 1 or 2 people to come in, and we thought the majority of people are not walking in anyways. So we just changed our model, but please call and we'll get you the information. The last thing I want to talk about is age-friendly, and I saw an age-friendly decal as I walked in this building. I was very happy. So the age-friendly certification is just available to Colorado Springs. So our BBB started this program a couple years ago, and essentially what it is accredited businesses that have already proven to be ethical by meeting our standards of trust can then apply for this certification. And this essentially puts them through an additional investigation, ensuring that they are set up and prepared and willing to make changes to their business model to support the senior population. So that's some things are very simple, like making sure that their website is a certain text, certain colors, more visible, they have visible signage. What is their entryway like? Do they have a door that's automatic? Or do they have a way for seniors to receive assistance if they need to use a walker, a wheelchair? What does that look like? Do they print out their contracts, or is everything online in this tiny fine print? You know, I'm sure we've all checked out things and, you know, at grocery stores or wherever, and they ask you to sign in this tiny little box, and above it you see this tiny print on what you're agreeing to. So one of our requirements is that they print out a contract, or they print out an agreement, so that a senior can walk away with it, and whether that's using a magnifying glass or blowing it up on their computer. So just different services that you can utilize as a senior. So look for this seal. The other cool partnership that we have with Senior Blue Book is you'll see the businesses are listed here that are accredited. Will have like a little torch, but then there's also a page, I actually just lost it, but there's
12 and 13.
Oh, you're so good. Page 12 and 13 are age-friendly businesses. There's actually a list of all of our businesses in Colorado Springs that have gone through this additional certification to focus on serving seniors. Sometimes that's our primary population, sometimes it's not. They just really want to be accessible to everyone, and so they're willing to make these changes to improve their business practices. So I'll stop there. I know we have another person to present on. You know, CSPD did an amazing job with scans. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we are another resource to report, to ask questions, to research. We do a lot of news interviews and promotions with the media to just provide education and awareness. So certainly if you're a victim of a scam or you want to prevent yourself from being a victim, let us help. Utilize us. We're here.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
That's
It's not 12 and 13, that's in the southern.
No, it's not 12 and 13.
My brain was off. I don't remember now.
Yeah, I know, I had it somewhere.
And then last but definitely not least, Ms. Tammy Trikes. Thank you. And then we'll do our little raffle prize.
Well, hi y'all, my name is Tammy and I'm with Adams Bank and Trust. We are a family-owned and operated community bank that focuses on relationship banking. So banks have a fiduciary obligation to protect your assets. So we work to protect your assets in various different ways through the use of sophisticated software that's designed to detect fraud. Banks scan about 370 billion credit and debit card transactions every year. So with this software, it can pinpoint fraud in real time with phenomenal accuracy. Now, most banks will still call their customers to verify transactions. So it's really important for you to return those calls to your bank so that they can prevent any other transactions that are fraudulent from coming through. So the sooner that you can respond to those, the better off we all are. Most banks now offer mobile apps. It's always a good idea to kind of explore your mobile app. There's a lot of features that are on there that can help protect you and protect your account assets. For instance, a lot of them feature ways that you can turn off your debit card when you're not using. Say if you're going out of country, a lot of debit cards won't work internationally. So when you want to contact your bank about that, let them know you're traveling so that they can, if they see suddenly a bunch of transactions coming out of Mexico or Iraq, hopefully not, you know, then they can go ahead and say, okay, we know you're traveling to these countries during this time. Those are probably, you know, good transactions. But if they're questionable at all, they are going to be kicked back to the bank, and the bank should call you and ask you specifically about those transactions. You'll hear bankers use the term relationships, and what we mean by that is that bankers should engage with you on a personal level, because the more that we know about you and how you use your account, how you use your finances, the better we are able to protect you by seeing things that are out of ordinary. If you know, you usually write checks no more than $100, you know, then suddenly we get $1,000 one coming through, we might question that. So some of the questions that we'll ask, you know, if you're sending like withdrawing a larger sum of money than is usual for you, or if you're sending a wire to an individual who is new, that we've never sent a wire to that person before, your bank should be asking you some questions about those. So, wow, this is a lot of money. Are you doing something special? Or, yeah, have you met this person that you're wiring the funds to? We ask these questions not to get all up in your business. We're not trying to be nosy about what you're doing with your money. We're trying to help protect you. Sometimes by asking those questions, that may get you to stop and say, well, no, I really don't know that person very well. I met him online, you know? But you know, sometimes we're asked to, if we sell a product online, they send you more money than you requested, and they'll say, oh, I made a mistake, can you wire that back to me? You wanna be very cautious about that, because that is a typical scam that people use. The check that, the money they sent you is probably gonna come back. Now, a lot of people assume that, you know, if you deposit a check, it'll clear in a couple days. While that is true, it takes a few more days for that transaction to be rejected and come back to the originating bank. So it could take up 4, 5, 6 days even before the bank knows that those funds were not real. So, you know, if you get something like that, or maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend that you've met online, but you've never met in person, they're asking you to send them some money, be cautious. Talk to your family about it if you have concerns. You know, you've got to really, really know who you're sending those funds to, because if once they're gone, especially a wire. They're very hard to get back. We can request it, but they don't have to comply. So we can't prevent you from using your funds however you wish to use them, and we wouldn't want to, but we try very hard to protect you from those who want to take advantage of you. So the next time your banker is being nosy and asking you why you're getting all this money, give them a little grace. They're trying to protect you, and they have your best interest at heart. And that's all I have.
That's good. I thought that a lot of people say, right, that to protect you with the people, especially elderly, when you make it there for so many years, you know?
Yes. You might not be aware, but also bankers are required to report if we notice instance or suspect elder abuse. Like you come in with your grandchild and you're wanting to add them to your account, but they're bossing you around while you're in there. We may try and separate you and ask you some questions, because we don't want you to be forced into a situation that you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that your bank specific, or is that?
All banks. Every bank should be doing this, yes.
We actually get a lot of calls on that. That actually turn out to be other things by a caregiver or a loved one.
Yep, you come in with bruises, or you're confused, and you know, there's a lot of situations
when you're older, over 900, certainly 2,000. They had one online, 2,000. She went to the next bank. She was right there doing it, transferring to this person.
Right.
She lost $20,000.
We see a lot of romance scams, and while we can't tell you how you're spending your money, if we know for like 99%, like we had a woman that came in and she was constantly wiring money to her boyfriend. We found out that she never met this man. She met him online. He was an airline pilot. He so that's why by needed money for a new engine for his aircraft. But you know, his money was all tied up in investments. Could she loan him $5,000? Well, I don't have $5,000. Oh, well, can you take out a loan? I'll pay you back. Yeah, please use some common sense. If you've never met the person in person, you don't know who you're actually talking to.
I have a question. Maybe contractors that do the same thing.
Yes.
That's what she added.
My question is, you know, you get all of these ads about applying for credit cards from different banks. Would it be safer to go into the bank, if you wanna, for instance, if you have just a debit card, and you wanted to get a credit card, to just go into the bank itself and apply for it as opposed to using the.
Absolutely, or you know how I mentioned how we like to have a relationship with our customers. When you have a relationship, you can call your banker and just say, hey, you know, I was thinking maybe it'd be a good idea to have a credit card. We can get that information, but you know who you're calling.
Yeah.
You know, you call your bank directly, you email your banker directly. Banks do so much more by email and phone now. Where I work, we don't have a whole lot of foot traffic. But boy, that phone and email is going all day long. Yeah.
We know how to get you.
Right,
And I was with a bigger bank, Wells Fargo, and my purse was stolen, and their security system is horrible, and I switched banks because I didn't have a personal banker. I didn't really, every time I went into the bank, it was different people. They didn't know me, I didn't know them, and I switched to a smaller bank, and now I got my banker on speed dial, and I call her all the time, and I'm like, hey, and I'm still getting calls from Wells Fargo. It's been over a year. Somebody just tried to use my ID and that stolen credit card almost a year later at a Wells Fargo, and they were so excited. They're like, they came through and they tried to. I'm like, bye. Like, it's fake news. I'm done with you. Like that was a year ago.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're finally catching on now.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the big WF, but
Right. That is an advantage of a smaller bank because we're less institutionalized. We get to know our customers on a more personal basis. You're not just a number, you're a name, you're a face, you're a person.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.